Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about wild boar. Um, it is a very underutilized piece of wild game that we have an excessive amount of here in Texas. And so part of the thing that I want to show today is how to break down one of these animals. And you hear all the different crazy stories about, oh, they're not good to eat. They don't have any fat on them. Just might as well leave them where they lay. All these terrible things that are just false truths that are getting thrown around. So this is a wild boar. This came from the ranch where I get to guide hunts. And as you can see, I'm going to turn this around a little bit for y'all. This thing is very, very healthy. Lots of fat content. The inside is filled with leaf fat. I left the kidneys on just so that I could show a healthy kidney. So right in here, you can see those kidneys completely encapsulated with fat. So from the store, what you would be getting would be inside tenderloins, which are going to be underneath all this. So I'm going to start by pulling out, actually before I even go there, I'm not going to go too crazy first. So animal here, what do you need to be able to do this type of processing? That's right. Got me some limb loppers here. Rubber mallets preferred. Mine is at the ranch right now. So I have intro vise, basic boning knife. And then once you really start to get into the joys of butchery, you can acquire something like this. This is from Evers Forge Works. And I had him make this knife for me for processing. And then just also a basic cleaver. This is a little overkill, but this is the one that I have here at the house. So we'll be using that as well. Obviously, gloves. All right, I'm gonna walk around. This is a raw video, no editing, so y'all can kind of bear with me here. So kidneys are here. What I'm gonna do is just barely cut into this fat so that I can start pulling that kidney away. This is where bacon would come from. So this is an extremely healthy animal that was harvested at one of our hunting schools. So now I have the kidney, I have a tray over here off camera, so I'm setting stuff in. We're gonna start digging in here and you'll see the inside tenderloins. Now this inside tenderloin here is what you usually get at the store, which would be that small package that you'd find. A lot of times they're marinated. This is the most tender piece on the animal. So there's another one underneath this copious amount of interior fat that this animal has. So we'll remove this, and then we're going to come up here and start working on the belly parts. There's a little gunshot. How it happens. This is just a real video. We'll get up here into the Copa, and then where the pork chops come from, which would be the back straps of the pig, which are right here on the other side. And you've got some great rib options as well. As you can see, the animal is very clean. This isn't a crazy bloody mess. As long as you harvest the animal well, then it's a pleasure to process. So as I'm going in here, I'm just going to do one of these so that I can move on. But you'll see that what I'm doing is just running that knife right along the edges here, running along the spine. And that's going to pull right out. So now that's your inside tenderloin. Very good piece of meat right there. So moving right along, just to keep this rolling, we had a little loss right in this area, because usually this would be a little bit thicker for the bacon purposes. A lot of times wild boar do not have bacon, but that is just because they are running a nice lean life and do not have all of that extra fat. And when you come across a beautiful specimen like this, then you really want to make sure to utilize everything you can here. So what I don't use for ribs, I will use for sausage. And this is great fat right in here. This particular fatty area will probably get used for mixing in with the chorizo that is planned for part of this animal. So I'm just going to trim this off right here. And you can see that is what bacon looks like. That is some pork belly from a wild boar. All right, I'm going to turn this around real quick, give you all the other side. So with this monster, I'm looking at where the back straps are, and it is a very impressive beast. There it is. All right. So the spine's running right here. A lot of the times with these animals, you will not have this amount of fat on the back, so it's a lot easier to locate that spine just right. On pigs, their spine dips behind the skull, so it can be a little difficult to find sometimes. You just want to make sure that you're cutting in good right along that bone, and I can feel that I'm right here on the spine. This animal is remarkable. You're going to hear me say this over and over and over, because the amount of fat that is on this pig is quite impressive. So I'm going to come all the way down here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut basically down to the ribs where that, there it is. Okay, so right where the back strap, aka your pork chops, would be. And I'm going to clean this line up. So then from here, I could have some spare ribs down here. These would be nice ribs that we'll cut here momentarily. And then the rest are going to try to make some really nice bone-in pork chops for this person. So I'm going to start peeling this back from the spine like I talked about. Now, if you see right in here, there it is. Look at that fat. Unbelievable. This was a wild, free-range pig. Pretty remarkable. This animal was harvested directly under an oak tree, and pretty sure it had just been hanging out and enjoying a bunch of pecans. And one thing you see, I'm holding my knife like this, so that's important. You can hear it run along that spine. Get this all the way down. And it's a lot easier if there's not this much fat, but my goodness, it is loaded. Going down either side of that spine right now. You can hear that knife hitting that rib cage. I'm trying to save as much of this fat as possible. Okay, so now come back on this side. Now you can see right in here is that spine. So I'm going to take this down all the way to the hip. And now this is ready to start being pulled down. Now, since we want ribs off of this thing, I've got to be careful on my cuts, because we've got a lot of great meat here that we don't want to waste. And since this pig does look so good, we're going to actually get some really great wild boar ribs. So this is going to be a tough angle to get. What I'm going to do is basically come in here with my limb loppers. You can use snips. I just have these and they they stay with me. So this is what I use. You could use a Sawzall, you could use a bandsaw, and we'll trim up this little bit right here and get all this remaining fat and meat off there momentarily. So now I want to figure out where the line is that I want to have, say, a bone-in chop. So I'm just going to make a mark, just to kind of give myself a guideline. Now I'll know about where I want to cut. Just try to get in there. So start here. Sides, just to make sure you get through all that meat that you can. Come back in with this. Having this slippery sucker by myself is a little bit difficult to get in to the right spot, but we're gonna do just fine. All right, so as you can see, I got a little close there, so I'm gonna come back up. Another way you can do this is you can lay it on its side like this. Then you're gonna put this mallet down. Start breaking through those bones like that. It's a lot easier if this is propped up nice and level. That electric Sawzall can be your best friend right now. But since this is such a big specimen, just a little bit easier for me to use these lockers and get all the way down there. Okay. Away a little bit just to make sure I got everything nice and clean in here as I'm looking. Almost there. Got one more bone. Have ourselves a nice rack of ribs. Now, check that out. We have now taken this beautiful rack. Look how nice and thick that is, all that fat. This will be pulled off. This is that leaf interior fat. So that'll get rendered down. You can make tamales, anything you want with it. Good lard. That just peels right out of there. So that'll get saved and cooked down. So now you have a rack of ribs to go along with the other part of that animal. And then from here, we are working on the remaining parts. So I'm going to get this kidney out of there. I just really wanted to leave that in for demo because that is impressive. That is a healthy animal. There's a kidney right there. It's amazing. So this animal was about 200 pounds. To give you a little background, I use thermal optic scopes. I'm a chef, obviously, and I harvest as much of this as I can. I hand out a lot of it to friends and family. It gives me the opportunity to hunt a species year round. It gets me out in nature, and I get to take my friends out as well. So it's kind of a win all around for everybody. I help landowners. They let me enjoy the outdoors. And then now it is part of my job with the hunting school that I got hired on to help with. So it's something that I'm very passionate about. I love the opportunities that we have here to get to do so many cool things, and this being one of them. So what I'm doing right here is just making a little scoring mark. And now we're going to get after this thing with the hammer with a little bit more aggression. So I'm separating those ribs. One more. All right, we're all the way at the neck there. Looks like everything's separated pretty good. So now I'm just start trimming this away. Again, I like holding the knife like this. Really easier to get in there, work around those joints. Okay. Now pick the last rib that's separated. Start peeling this back. Okay. And now what we have done is create a pork loin. So this is the pork loin. Then I'm going to trim that little bit off there. That will go into sausage. And now what we can do is clean this up a little further and then cut these into individual ribs. And tell me, can you buy something that looks that good at the grocery store? Pork, the other white meat with fat that looks like that? So there's a beautiful rack of ribs. The rest of the loin's connected here. And there you have it. So one of the other greatest cuts off of one of these wild boars, and I will be finished after this and do the rest of the other half, is this cut right there. So we'll come in, that Copa. Talk about a money piece of meat right there. Now, when you go in, say you want to cut steak with this, or you want to salt cure this like a ham. Come on. Look at that. It's beautiful. Tie that, cure it, smoke it. You won't be disappointed. So there you have it. We've already done the majority of half a pig. The front shoulders, obviously, those will get broken down to grind material. And the rear hams will be used for, obviously, the obvious being ham. One of the things that I can show you here that's pretty good learning curve for a lot of folks is the spine right now. So if you look where the spine travels, it makes a massive dip right behind the head. So this would be where the head was. And there's a huge dip right in here. So you got to be really careful when you're making your shots that you either have an extremely humane kill up here, hit at the spine before it dips, or into the vitals to be able to make sure that the animal doesn't suffer. So now you have what can be done with a wild pig here in Texas. Absolutely beautiful meat. Hopefully y'all have enjoyed this, and I will continue to make more of these with other species and even more with this.